If you remember, in 1971, Don McLean came out with American Pie. It was like a 14-minute song that we almost all know. We drove our Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Well, there's another line in there that says, the day the music died, and that's in reference to this fateful night when these 3 men plus the pilot passed away in this horrific accident. If you'd like to follow the process of turning a block of wood like this into a guitar like this, then you've come to the right place. And if you would like to see me give this guitar away, click subscribe, hit the bell. Well, hey, good morning, guys. Welcome back to Let's Build a Guitar. It's been a long time, hasn't it? A lot has happened since the last videos that I've done, guys. A lot has happened. You know, life doesn't always go the way you expect. I mean, there's just some normal everyday things that cause me to not do any videos for a little while. And I'm still going to be a little sporadic through the summer for sure. Hopefully get back to doing more videos as we go into the fall here. But I have been replacing windows in my house, and I've been working on chimney and putting in a new fireplace because, man, our heating bills have been crazy. So I've been working on that, doing those things. And today, I am not close to my house. Well, I mean, like 3.5 hours from home. I know out here it looks a little bit like around where I live because it's pretty much all fields, but I am not in all fields. I am here just a little bit before sunrise at a place that's a little bit on the somber side. I am in Clear Lake, Iowa. And for some of you, that means something. For others, it doesn't mean anything at all. But Clear Lake, Iowa has a special place for rock and roll music. And I'm going to touch on a few of those things. The first thing is going to be where we're at today. On February 3rd, 1950... was it 59, 58, 59? I'll put it down below. That Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and J.P. Richardson, or the Big Bopper, were killed in an airplane crash right over here. It seems like musicians and airplanes don't always go together. We have lost so many incredible musicians to airplane or helicopter crashes. And this was one of the big ones. We are in Clear Lake, Iowa, and we're going to go check out the Surf Ballroom. But I want to tell you a little bit about what's been going on as well. So first off, the Surf Ballroom. I was here in Clear Lake about 4 years ago, came to the Surf Ballroom, and man, I just felt like I was transported back in time. I can't wait to show you a little bit of the Surf Ballroom. But the people that have played at the Surf Ballroom, you might be able to see a few names when we go into the green room. And that's, you know, where people get ready to go on stage in the green room, and they would sign their names on the walls. It's pretty amazing, this little place out here in Iowa where a lot of big names played and did a tour. And the Surf Ballroom is still going. That, you know, this accident was, what's that, 68 years ago? Something like that. And, or 50, yeah. Man, my math. It is 5:30 in the morning. Well, it's probably about 6 o'clock now. The sun is just about to come up. But we're talking over 60 years ago. And the Surf Ballroom is still going. In fact, 4 years ago when I was here, I didn't know it, but REO Speedwagon was playing that night, and I probably would have gone had I known. Should have looked ahead. But I did see him out in the parking lot, which was kind of cool. Well, guys, let's take a look around here, and we're also going to flip back to a couple of video posts that I started on to try and tell you what's been going on in my life, and part of why my videos have been, well, non-existent, and I even took some of my videos off of YouTube. As they say, life sometimes throws us a curveball, and there have been a few curveballs throwing. Well, hey, viewers of Let's Build a Guitar. It has been a long time. A lot has happened since I have last posted. And if you are very observant, you'll notice that I pulled some of my videos off of the YouTube channel. Mr. X, who I'm building this guitar for, and now I'm blurring it out and not giving any hints to who that is. He was robbed, and he had 11 very expensive, rare guitars stolen from him, as well as a lot of other musical equipment. And so he had asked me to not post any more on these guitars. So maybe at some point I'll be able to share a few pictures with you, but for now we are not posting anything. So that happened. And then this last Monday night, my friend Tony suddenly passed away. Here's a reminder of who Tony is. One who's getting this guitar watches. He knows he's getting this guitar. His name's Tony. He is a veteran of the Army. He's ended up in the hospital a lot lately with, I know, a minor stroke and some dizziness and things going on. But we're going to get this guitar put together for Tony.
Beautiful, oh man, oh my word. When I jumped on the trampoline, I didn't like it. I always told everybody that my brain moved, you know, and I didn't know what was going on.
Okay.
But it would be like this, you know.
You can feel something.
And when I would go down, I would go, you know, and it was because that tumor was making my brain move, you know. Half and half, it would go, you know, like this. And nobody understood that. Well, I didn't understand.
You didn't know why it was. And you probably just thought everybody had that, right?
Oh, what a beautiful day the Lord has blessed us with.
And so yesterday at 10:30 in the morning, I said goodbye to Tony for now. As went to his memorial service down in Ocheyedan, Iowa. And I did get to see some friends, people that I went to school with that I hadn't seen for probably 30 years. So there was a blessing in all of the hard stuff. His wife is doing okay, but of course, life is going to be very different for her now. So, hey, you can pray for Lori and his daughter Morgan as well. So I'm going to be working on this guitar, finishing it up now. Hopefully, finally. I have resprayed this fretboard 3 times now, and the reason is it's a really dark fretboard, and with black or really dark brown, oh, swirl marks are such a problem. And so I've been trying to work out any swirl marks or any fogginess in the in the layers, and man, it has been a chore. So I'm gonna just keep working at it and hoping that I can get it looking really good here. That's the plan. But otherwise, we are probably now going to just jump into the future to something I haven't even started working on yet. I don't even know what that is at this point, but hey, I've started the video, so let's go to that now. It was just down this trail that Ritchie Valens, Big Bopper, and Buddy Holly were killed. It's interesting, the story goes that, Waylon Jennings was playing bass at the time for Buddy Holly, and Waylon was supposed to be going on this flight, and J.P. Richardson, Big Bopper, had the flu, wasn't feeling good, and so Waylon swapped flights with him. And from my understanding, that most of the rest of Waylon Jennings' life, he had a sense of guilt, probably also relief, but a sense of guilt for swapping seats and letting J.P. Richardson take that flight. They were on their way from Clear Lake, Iowa to Moorhead, Minnesota. They were on a short Midwestern tour of like 24 places that they were going to go play in almost like 24 days, something like that. And it started off in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Clear Lake, Iowa was the 11th city that they were visiting on this tour, and it was February. I don't know if you know this, but Iowa, Minnesota in February, it's cold, and it sounds like the tour bus was freezing cold. And so yeah, J.P. Richardson had gotten sick. He and Waylon swapped places, and as they say, I guess the rest is history, huh? They played at the Surf Ballroom just a few miles away in Clear Lake, Iowa. The Surf Ballroom, I visited there about 4 years ago, and when I walked in, I felt like I was just transported in time. You walk into the Surf Ballroom and you see this place, the nostalgia of what it looks like. It still looks like it'd be something from the 1950s in a lot of ways. And there's a green room there. A green room, if you don't know, is where musicians wait until it's time to go up on stage. So there's this green room there where musicians over decades have signed their names. And it's pretty incredible to see who's all in there and some of the names. There's been some really big groups that have come through the Surf Ballroom in little old Clear Lake, Iowa. It's interesting, however, I've got an uncle, my Uncle Ronnie, passed away some years back, my dad's brother, and he played in a lot of big bands, and his name is in that green room, which is pretty cool, I think, that his name is along with all these other people. He was a trumpet player, played backup with different bands, like I said, a lot of big bands, as well as some polka. But on the biggest note, I know that he, at least on one occasion, backed up Johnny Cash, which is pretty cool in my mind. Well, the Surf Ballroom is about a half block down over here. They've got a Saturday morning farmers market, so check that out a little bit too with my beautiful wife, who is over here out of the camera. Oh, she's I'm gonna show her that. We're gonna go check out the farmers market, and then we'll run into the Surf Ballroom.
That's fine. Are you recording?
Oh, I am a little here, a little there.
I am honored. My stuff is all chemical free, all right? And I grow everything that you see on the table. And next week, we'll have garden-raised, garden-ripened tomatoes.
Frosting either has spice, it's cinnamon and allspice.
This unassuming little building behind me is the Surf Ballroom. Originally built in 1933, 1947 it burned down and then was rebuilt, and let's see on the sign, rebuilt in 1948. So 75 years since the rebuild of this one in particular. Now, for a little town in Iowa, this Surf Ballroom has been the stage for ZZ Top, Alice Cooper, Kansas, REO Speedwagon, quite a few different bands that you've heard of. But going back further, the Everly Brothers, Roy Orbison, B.B. King, a lot of big bands. So now let's go inside and check out the interior of the Surf Ballroom, Clear Lake, Iowa. Let's take a little trip into the green room right through this door here. This is pretty interesting. I just thought about who I'd really like to see here. I would love to see Brian Setzer Orchestra. Wouldn't that be a lot of fun? My friend Ron, the little bugger, one day he puts on Facebook, just walked down the block and saw Brian Setzer doing a live gig just down the road here. I was like, Ron, you could have called me. Of course, he lives a couple hours away from me, but love to see Brian Setzer play here. From the sign with the glasses, it's about a quarter of a mile walk down this little path to the actual site. You know, I was thinking about the fact that, you know, like Buddy Holly, some of these songs, like, of course, Peggy Sue is one that a lot of people know, and La Bamba with Ritchie Valens. And of course, I grew up in the 80s, and so La Bamba, the movie came out, and the song went to be a hit. A point of encouragement for a number of musicians, I think, is that, you know, these guys they weren't musical virtuosos. They weren't absolutely just mind-blowingly incredible musicians. But what they did, people loved. Battery in the GoPro just died, so I guess I'll finish this way. So what I was saying was, the point is that they did what people loved. They loved the music. They enjoyed it. You don't have to be Steve Vai or Joe Satriani or Eddie Van Halen on guitar in order to do something that people love. I must be out of practice walking too. Like, whew, I'm out of breath. It's not that far, but maybe I'm walking fast. Anyway, you know, one of the bands, like right now, one of my favorite bands that I just have not been able to stop listening to, I love the band of Monsters and Men. Not a single one of them do I listen to and just think, well, they're the greatest musician ever, right? But I enjoy the music. I love the sound. They're out of Iceland, if you haven't checked them out. There's a couple songs that I'm sure everybody knows. Anyway, we're just about to the site here. Well, I guess here we go. That does answer my question. It was February 3rd, 1959. I was wondering if it was 58, but it was 59. And even if what you play isn't stuff that people just love, if you enjoy doing it, if you enjoy playing, making noise, whatever, keep doing it. I'll end the video in the same place that I began, here at the Buddy Holly Memorial Site outside of Clear Lake. I've been talking a little bit about how life throws us curveball sometimes and it's really hard. You hear me say fight for joy almost at the end of every video that I do. Fighting for joy can be harder sometimes than it is at other times. And one of the lessons that my wife and I have been learning is turning up the volume on the blessings and turning down the volume on all the crap, all the junk, all the hard stuff. I think it's a lesson for us to learn. I was thinking about this in another way. An EQ, now there's IQ, intelligent quotient, or EQ, emotional quotient, but I'm talking about EQ as in what you guys know, an equalizer. You think about an equalizer, how it can be flattened, but then if you want to pronounce certain tones or frequency, so the different megahertz of frequency, you can change, you can add a little bass or add a little treble, add the mid-tones, mid-range, lower the others. I think part of learning to walk through life is learning how to EQ our emotional, spiritual lives, to EQ them. And what I'm saying is that sometimes in our life we can get way too much bass, way too much heavy, way too much low end, right? And I'm trying to be symbolic here, but sometimes we get things out of whack and all we can hear or see is the low. I was a youth pastor for 22 years, and one of my kids, one time I got in a car with him and he had the subwoofers built into the car, and man, it was just thumping loud bass. I didn't even recognize the song, couldn't even hear what the song was. He loved the bass, and that's all right, but I didn't even know what the song was. And then I was like, Chris, can you turn the bass down a little bit? And he turns it down, and it was an Aerosmith song that I grew up on, that I knew, but I couldn't even hear the song because all the bass was just cranked up so loud. Well, that's kind of the idea in our lives, is that we face struggles and hard things all the time, but learning how to remember the joys and the good things and turning up the volume on that EQ and turning the volume down a little bit on the lows. Now, not trying to dismiss the hard stuff. Knowing that it's there, recognizing that it's there, hearing that it's there, but don't crank the volume up on it so that's all you can hear. Do you get what I'm saying? We have to EQ our emotional and spiritual lives. Well, guys, it's been a joy having you with me again. My plan is now, when I go back home, yes, Mr. X's guitars I cannot show you. I am still working on them. The one is pretty much finished. I have to do one plate for it. Sometime maybe I can show you some pictures of it. But I'll go back home, and I picked out some really nice curly maple, and we're gonna start another guitar. Bless y'all. Keep fighting for joy. From the heartland of Iowa, Clear Lake. See you next time.